All right, guys. Oh. And I think that's might be the compromise to get it. Yes. He's not gonna be here.
The young man.
All right. Wait. You ready? We ready? Call the meeting to order. Item 1B, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Item 2, approval of minutes from the June 1st budget hearing. If no objections are registered, the council chair shall approve the same as written. Can everyone hear me? Not really. Is this better? All right. Item 3, approval of warrants. We have two different warrants for two different fiscal years. Approval to sign and approve warrants number 113 through 126 for fiscal year 26 in the amount of $2,701,946.26. And for the fiscal year 27, warrants 2 through 6, in the amount of $256,573.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? 6-0. Item 4, acceptance of gifts, donations. Suggested motion, move to accept the following gifts, donations, and grants in the amount of $182.12 as detailed below. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Item 5A, executive session on economic development. Suggested motion, move to that the council convene into executive session pursuant to 1 MRS 4056E regarding economic development matters. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? In favor. 6-0. Sean, is that room available tonight? Okay, we'll go over then. Yeah. I was gonna say, if your phone broke a hip, if you want us to do the rest of the meeting first before we call the ambulance? Oh, just put the microphone on the floor. No, that was funny. You gotta admit. Okay, we ready? We are out of executive session at 7:37. You can't hear me? Okay. Very good. Out of executive session at 7:37. Item 5B, Chairman's Town Manager's comments. I have nothing. Wait. Okay. Item 6, monthly reports. Council? Nothing? So, nothing? Item 7, open forum. The council will allow Lincoln residents and or Lincoln taxpayers to comment prior to council action on agenda items. Individuals wishing to be heard by the council will be recognized by the council chair. The individual must identify themselves to the council by their first and last name and or business owner. After identifying themselves, the speaker may make brief comments regarding items on the agenda that do not have a public hearing. Council chair may set a time limit on the length of public comment and or time limit for individual speakers. We'll start on this side of the room. You're going last.
Increased confusion and increased frustration. What could have been a wonderful opportunity to explain the budget was lost. Hidden behind a shield of Section 401, without any attempt to explain the finer points of the budget, without any attempt to appear remotely interested in gaining favor with any constituents, opportunity was 100% lost. I was left lacking the one thing that I had truly come here for, which was clarity. If as a council, you're not interested in gaining support from your constituents, you are in part not here for the right reason. I will listen attentively at the next budget meeting, hoping to gain knowledge through hearing more information about funds for the town, which are adequate to effectively operate the town of Lincoln for fiscal year 27. I wish I had had the same opportunity to better understand the other proposal on July 6th, but alas, as stated before, there was no apparent willingness to educate the public expressed or shown. I can say I still agree with Councillor Ireland on one item, and that is send the fiscal year 27 budget proposals out to referendum. After last week regarding the small amount that was shared, Councillor Ireland's budget should definitely not be Lincoln's budget for fiscal year 27, especially when it does not appropriately account for all the basic line items needed in each department. And that's just getting through 1.5 departments. I mean, just with regards to the town manager department budget, our town would fall short of having enough money, which disables Lincoln's ability to hire a town manager with talent and credentials at a competitive rate that's going to be necessary. And we talked about 122 to 124K last week as the median. You're going to need more than that. No one's going to want to walk in here for that amount of money and put up with the stuff that's going on right now. So you're going to have to pay more. Further, Councillor Ireland's budget does not allot enough money for other line items in just that one department or 1.5 that we got through. Again, I'm frustrated with the lack of information coming from part of the council. Individuals representing others should want buy-in and should provide as much information as possible, not just estimated totals based on some equation calculated in their mind. The meeting July 6th not only failed to give details needed, it didn't explain much at all. So how can I, as a taxpayer, support a budget proposal that isn't clear, has no intention of being made clear, and after brief discussion is revealed to not accurately create subtotals for individual departments which are necessary to appropriately and adequately run our town. I can't. As a counselor, you are a leader in our community and should be acting as such. Insinuations of untruths, yelling at members of our community, and talking down to people of this community are not helpful and do not help us build the bridges to work together for the benefit of our town, which is why we are all here. Counselors, I implore you as a whole, please be transparent, explain what we asked to learn about. Sometimes I don't understand things because this isn't my wheelhouse. And I rely on you, who may have better understanding, to do that for me. Please break things down, be honest, be respectful, and be cooperative. I do look forward to the next meeting, which I hope will be more fruitful than the July 6th meeting. Thank you.
Good evening, Tim Wright, Lincoln resident. This is ridiculous. First, I want to apologize to everyone up on the council because what's going on is ridiculous. The way people talk to you and speak. This one? Okay. The way they speak to you and yell at you, it's ridiculous. It's uncalled for and it shouldn't be. They need to grow up. And to make it perfectly clear, Mr. Ireland is given a proposed budget. I don't know if people know what proposed means. That's his suggestion. That's not the true budget. So everyone's screaming and yelling about it is just a waste of time. He's just giving you an idea. That's where that should be. The problem in the past with this town and the past town council managers and council heads is that anytime somebody wanted something, they just gave away the money and did not justify the needs to the wants. Examples, we'll pick on our favorite people, the fire department. EMS, they wanted a third ambulance. It was supposed to, according to the chair, go up for vote. It never did. The chair and the former manager pushed it through. There's $250,000 we, the people, had nothing to say about. You can go on with them and you can go to the UTV that they just got, that again, they got rid of a truck. They did a good idea, but that $40,000 could have been on their budget this year. So there's another $40,000 just thrown away because they don't know the difference between needs and wants. I want a helicopter take me to work. I don't need it, but I'd like to have one. Everybody is screaming and yelling about them. We need them. That's true. But if they didn't waste the money in the years past, we would be better off than we are now. The police chief that we hired now is the best thing this town could have ever done. He's smart. He gets grants. He knows his stuff. He's very good at what he does. The only thing I can see is he turned around and changed the lease to vehicles on his police cars. So there was 5 cruisers that got decommissioned. Why weren't they sent to auction? Why didn't we auction them off? That would have been $150,000, $200,000 back in the police department's budget. We wouldn't have a problem with the police department either. We, the people, are pissed. Things aren't going. The people never show up at these council meetings. Now all of a sudden they're here. Because why? They want to yell and fight and cause problems because it affects their friends and family. Well, you know something? This is God's country. This is unacceptable. We need to bring it back. We need a strong manager who's not afraid, whether they are liked and are willing to stand up for the people of Lincoln, not political parties. Bring accountability to all town departments, but also someone who can put common sense into the council as they talk to them and work together. We, the people, asked to lower taxes. That's what you're trying to do. And I'm grateful for it. But we need to spread it out. We can't do it all in one shot. We should spread it out over the next 3 years. Thank you.
Night's agenda. You're welcome to come back Wednesday night and go ahead.
About what is on the agenda. But my question is, this is the only time we can actually interact with you, because when we do try to talk to people, send emails, or talk to the town council, or go into the town, or even have the workshops where you guys actually volunteer to come, but you don't all show up, so we can ask people certain questions. So you should have a place where we can bring up other things that aren't on the budget that are needed and that we need to voice our opinion to.
Anybody else on this side of the room? Bobby? No, it does not. This is a private.
Down.
Houses on similar properties. The rest of this town is tired of this too. It is time to hire an outside assessing firm. It is time to have two assessors going crazy in this town, identifying properties that are assessed improperly, identifying properties that aren't even on the books. It's time that we rip off this Band-Aid and get this situation fixed. And it is not going to get fixed by putting more work on Ruth Burt when she's proven she can't do 2 full-time jobs. Please do something about this.
Hi, can you hear me? Maybe? Okay, hi, Kelly Ryder, Lincoln. I would also just like to comment on number 14 about Ruth. We do need at least one full-time assessor. And from what I gather from talking to people in town and looking at the tax map that's out of date and talking to neighbors about, you know, their tax bills and just coming to these meetings, I almost think we will probably need at least 2 full-time tax assessors. And Ruth is doing a lot of work with an economic development, and it seems like she has a lot of momentum with that. And, you know, Ruth also deserves to have an exit strategy for herself and her family to be able to retire and enjoy her time. She's done a lot for our town for the past 35 years. And I worry about her having to take on this assessing role at such a pivotal time in our community where, you know, people are very upset about the taxes and all of that. So I would really hope that maybe you could find somebody that would apprentice under Ruth, or maybe somebody that could file all the paperwork for Ruth and update the map if she was going to assess. But I think ideally the best plan will be to get possibly 1 or 2 full-time assessors, because there's a ton of new houses in town that haven't been assessed properly. And that's why a lot of you guys got elected, is because people are very upset about their taxes and their neighbors' taxes. So I think putting this on Ruth right now, I think I know her well enough to know that when the town needs her, she's gonna step up to the plate and do her best to get on base. But I feel like right now is a good time to let Ruth sit this one out and get a pinch hitter, so we can move forward and she can maybe enjoy retirement someday soon. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vicky Clay. I live in Lincoln. I too wanted to discuss item 14. I think also, as others have shared, that I think that Ruth has done a lot for our town. I think that it is time for her to take a little less on her plate. Also, I wanted to read something that apparently this letter was written to the town council November 27th of last year. Dear members of the town council, I'm writing with a sense of urgency regarding a situation that has placed my wife under extreme and unsustainable stress. She is currently being required to perform the duties of 3 full-time positions, and the pressure of this workload is taking a serious toll on her health and well-being. This situation is no longer merely inconvenient or challenging, it is dangerous. My wife is exhausted, overwhelmed, and increasingly unable to cope with the demands being placed on her. No employee should be expected to shoulder such an excessive burden, and it is unacceptable for this to continue without immediate review and intervention. I am urgently requesting that the council look into this matter without delay. It is critical that appropriate staffing measures, workload distribution, and support systems be put in place to prevent further harm. The current circumstances are simply not sustainable, and continuing down this path risks serious consequences for her health. I trust that the council will recognize the severity of this issue and take prompt action. My family cannot wait for long-term solutions. We need immediate attention and relief. Thank you for your swift consideration of this matter. I am available at any time to provide further information to discuss this situation in more detail. Sincerely, can you guess? Scott Burtz. Scott Burtz, Ruth's husband. So now I'm wondering why this is a good idea to put Ruth in a temporary position when this was written to the town council. It was posted on Lincoln Main Bulletin Board on social media, and it was also published in the Lincoln News. So he meant business. He wanted everybody in the whole town to know. I think it's a grave mistake to put her on the assessing job. Thank you.
Beth Mayo, Lincoln. First of all, I'd like to know where we are with the audit reports. Have we completed 2021 as stated before? And are we currently working on 22? And have we made any payments toward that, toward the goal of getting them completed? I've talked to Denton about the electrical ordinance that he's proposed under number 11. And as I stated to him, we've never had anything like that in the town of Lincoln before. And my question is, has this been reviewed by the town attorney? I question whether or not it's necessary. In number 12, with regards to the lease for the police department, I believe 5 years is too long. And I've talked to the chief about this, and he has stated that there is a 60-day exit clause that's going to be included in that. So I suppose that would be great if that's the case. I hope that something would be also included in the new lease regarding any future mold issues, because we had to, as you recall, rent a trailer, which came out of our pockets rather than reducing our rent to the owner of the building. I think that should have come out of that rental payment instead of us paying it outright. And I'm concerned about number 13 regarding George being assigned the transfer station director position. Again, you're asking somebody to take on more duties. I think that the current personnel that are there at the transfer station should be able to take care of that without any future payouts to any other department managers. And as far as number 14, appointment of the assessor, my questions are you rescinding your previous motion in May where you appointed Amanda Woodard as the assessor? State Revenue Services, as I've been told directly, does not recognize an interim assessor or an alternate assessor. They're either assessor or not. So if you appoint her as interim, I don't think she has any power to sign the commitment and to carry on her duties. Under the tax collector monthly report, she stated there were 2 supplemental tax bills completed this month. If that's the case, and Ruth stated in her monthly report that the Byron Sanderson list has been completed, in my opinion, there should have been more than just 2 supplemental tax bills. There were a lot of properties that were not assessed for many years. I think that that's not complete as stated. With regards to the monthly report from the Economic Development Coordinator,
I was a little confused because she says that there is a review of building permits have started, but she's concerned as to by whom are they started. It's unclear who's doing the assessing duties, she says. Well, I'm concerned as well. And with regards to the other parts of her monthly report, she talks about an overpayment of 70,000 occurring with regards to the TIF payments. How did that even occur? The events line says that there was $18,000 in donations that was included in her budget. I don't recall ever seeing that on the council agenda as being approved by the town council under the donations and grant lists. Why wasn't that done? With regards to the Economic Development Reserve, she said whatever amount of money is left in the TIF budget goes into the Economic Development Reserve. Does the town council get a report with regards to that reserve? How much is in that reserve? And how often does money come and go out of that reserve? As I recall, a few months ago, Ruth stood at this podium and stated that she has received or been awarded $21 million in grants. And I looked at that report that was in her monthly report, and I can only come up with 17,850,000 with regards to the report that was given. I'm a little confused. With regards to Steve Levesque's monthly report, he talks about that there are certain jobs that are being managed by outside firms. And those jobs are these grants. And how does the council get an accounting with regards to how the grants are spent and who they're spent on? With regards to the transfer station monthly report, it was reported that MWS is now doing the, we're taking our trash to MWS in Hamden instead of PERC. And there are some concerns that MWS doesn't take all of our trash. So there's a pile of furniture left at the transfer station that isn't being taken care of. I'm concerned that we have this $1 million lawsuit from PERC that's hanging over our heads. And I don't see anything in the monthly report that shows that our per ton fee has decreased by going to MWS. I really am concerned about the whole thing. I have some other information regarding the assessing department, but I will hold that information for another meeting. Thank you.
Brian Coons, taxpayer and resident. Like a lot of other people, I want to talk about item 14 on the agenda. Ruth Burtz has given a lot to this town in this past several years. She has come before you, the town council, asking for help, and that has fallen on deaf ears. The town council has gone on to blame Ruth Burtz for a lot of different issues with taxing. Putting another full-time job on Ruth is gonna just stress her out even more than she already is. I think it's time. You guys want to fix the tax situation in Lincoln. The tax situation is going on for the last several years. It's time to rip off the Band-Aid. It's time for us to get an actual full-time assessor who can do nothing but assessing. My road has grown so much over the last several years that I highly doubt you guys even know how many houses are built on those lots and how many lots have been transformed into livable houses, not camps, livable houses. There has been so many different roads approved to go off of my road and different lots. But again, I haven't seen anyone from the town of Lincoln out my way to do any assessing, to do anything like that. I implore you to please just rip off the Band-Aid. Let's start fixing our tax issues and find a permanent solution for our tax assessor.
My name is Catherine Jewell. I'm a registered voter here in Lincoln. You mentioned that we needed to be speaking tonight only to the articles in the tonight. Is that something can I speak of something else, or do I need to do that on Wednesday?
Does it have to do with the budget?
No. Well, no, just a general opinion. So I didn't know if that was something that needed to be done at another time.
Well, John, go ahead.
Okay, all right. I have some, again, my name is Catherine Jewell. I've been a registered voter here in Lincoln for 15 years. I'm a lifelong resident of Maine. Incidentally, I'm not related to anyone who works for the town of Lincoln. I would like to speak to one of the many controversies that have arisen during the past few weeks. There seems to be an assumption from 4 particular council members that they have been given a mandate from Lincoln voters. For clarification, a mandate means a large majority of people who approve of or authorize something. These 4 councilors do not have a mandate. Let me try to explain. Please take a look at the graph that was handed out. Lincoln has a total of 3,356 registered voters. Only 1,687 people voted in last November's election, which is half of our registered voters and not enough to establish a mandate. When looking more deeply at those 1,687 voters, as you can see on the top line, 975 of them voted for Kathy Moisen. That's 57.8% of the votes, almost 10% more than the 50% who actually voted. That's not really a mandate, but if anyone on the council could be considered to have a mandate, it would be Kathy. And she has called for approving the town manager's budget, not the one that slashes expenses more than 10%. Only 829 voted for David Ireland, which is less than half at 49.1%. Eric Rojo received even fewer, 636 votes, or 37.7%. And Lee Rand had 612 votes, or 36.3%. However, when you consider all the registered voters in Lincoln, the top vote getter, Kathy, received only 29.1% of the possible votes. Seen another way, 70.9% of registered voters did not vote for even the top vote getter. I tell you this because there are councilors who have consistently acted as though they can ignore the concerns that have arisen with many of us regarding the simplistic and ill-informed way they are attempting to cut taxes by slashing essential services. None of them have the support of the nearly 71% of Lincoln voters who either didn't vote or didn't vote for them. They are a minority pretending they have the support of lots of us, not a mandate. It's a hijacking of quality town leadership. This council was elected to work for the people. Please work for all the people, not just the ones who supported you. Even many of them have voiced they did not expect cuts to the point of being dangerous. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else on this side of the room? Council? Yeah. We can discuss it when we, all right, you go. I'm sorry. Okay, open forum is over. Item 8A, public hearing, renewal state liquor license application, Pat's Pizza. Suggested motion move to open a public hearing for the purpose of hearing oral and written comments on the proposed renewal state liquor license application for Pat's Pizza. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Public hearing is started at 8:07. Anybody in the audience have anything to say about the liquor license for Pat's Pizza? Concerns, questions? No? Council? Anything? Nothing? Okay. I'll close the public hearing at 8:07. Item 8B, approve state liquor license application, Pat's Pizza. Move to approve the renewal state liquor license application submitted by Pat's Pizza. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Item 9A, public hearing, renewal state liquor license application, Charlie's Seafood. Suggested motion, move to open a public hearing for the purpose of hearing oral and written comments on the proposed renewal state liquor license application for Charlie's Seafood. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Public hearing opened at 8:08. Anybody in attendance have anything about Charlie's Seafood? Nothing? Council? Nothing? I'll close the public hearing at 8:08. Item 9B, approve renewal state liquor license application, Charlie's Seafood. Suggested motion. Move to approve the renewal state liquor license application submitted by Charlie's Seafood.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. Item 10, approval renewal state liquor license application, Jado's Highlands Golf Course. Note, this business has been in operation for over 5 years in good standing. It does not require a public hearing. Suggested motion, move to approve the renewal state liquor license application submitted by Jado Highlands Golf Course. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 6-0. 11A, public hearing, adopt ordinance, code enforcement, electrical responsibility. Suggested motion, move to open a public hearing for the purpose of hearing oral and written comments on the proposed ordinance to assume responsibility of electrical permitting and electrical inspections within the town of Lincoln. Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? 6-0. Open, public hearing started at 8:10. Anybody in attendance have any? Thing? Go ahead, Javette, go.
We need this ordinance, and if so, if we do need it, has it been approved by the attorney?
Just a minute. After Mary's done.
I'm Mary LaMonaco, taxpayer and resident of Lincoln. My question sort of follows on from Jeanette's a little bit, in that we know that there's been problems with actually recording all of the code enforcement actions and ensuring that those were transferred to assessing. So while I don't have a conceptual problem with the idea, what I'd like to understand is, given some of the statements in the ordinance about the town being responsible for enforcement of those provisions, how are we actually going to track and manage it? And do we have that system in place before we go to take on extra work in the assessing department? Thank you.
Evening, I'm Denton Trotter, Code Enforcement Officer. 2 weeks ago, I had a conversation with Joel, who is a state electrical inspector, who called and told me that at some point the town of Lincoln chose not to do anything outside of residential, and it was removed. I could not find that in our routing and ordinance. That is the reason why I was told I had to have an ordinance in order to reassume that. Currently, all we are allowed to do is just single-family residential electrical inspections. So when anybody comes into town and they have an RV, they put up a garage on their property, anything commercial, industrial, we are not allowed to either provide permits to them, do any inspection for that for them, or provide any other services for them in regards to electrical. The biggest problem with that is you don't have a record in town. It goes to the state. And the state is not required to send that to us to keep on records. So then we do not have that record, but whether or not it's ever been inspected, whether or not a permit was pulled. As I've gone through and doing my project of going through town or road by road by road through town to see, most of my conversations have been that the state record was pulled. Sometimes they have it, other times I have to go to the electrician to try to get a copy of the state permit that shows that it was a state permit and not through the town of Lincoln. So what that does, when we come in and pull electrical permit for us, we were talking about we're missing these properties. I will know where everybody's putting a camper at because they have to come in through the town of Lincoln and get a electrical permit. That sets a standard that we know somebody's now in that property and they're trying to do something there. From there, I'm able to know that somebody's in there and I can then follow through as I'm doing my tours and see if they decide to start building without having a permit. It allows me to know there's already somebody living there. But if there's not, and I have no record of electrical, I'm not going to be driving down their driveway to go see if there's a camper down there or if there's a cabin down there. I'm only allowed to go on their property if I have due cause to go onto their property. It's called curtilage, so it's their private space. If I have a reason, I can drive down to it, but if I don't have a reason, I'm not supposed to. If I do what's called window observation. So you see me in my cruiser driving around, that's what I'm doing, window observations. So what I was told by the state inspector is that we have to have this because I'm not allowed to do it. So I told him I would write this up and submit it to the council so they can have a public hearing to see if this is what we want to do. Yes, it's going to add some additional workload, but when you strategize how you do your inspections on a property, it doesn't add additional workload because you can do multiple inspections on a property at the same time. Instead of having to go out to the property 3 times, you can do one inspection when you go out and everything's roughed in. So you have electrical, plumbing, and you can see the building itself and structure, what I'm looking for to make sure that the property is safe. So I'm not having to do additional workload. It's just strategizing when I actually go out to the property. And usually I contact the electricians, plumbers, homeowner, and they usually do the work at the same time. So. Any questions?
Yeah.
I'd like to follow both Javet's question as far as attorney viewed this, and then I would also like to follow up with Mary's question. Do we have a mechanism in place to track this?
So as far as the town attorney, not that I'm aware of, the loss control manager for Moon, who does our insurance, has been back and forth with me on it to see whether or not it's something that he had concerns. He was a code officer here before. He was concerned about the workload. I expressed to him that I'm not concerned about the additional workload because I'm not at a point where I cannot accomplish my job and do it well and make sure that everything is done properly. We are not growing at a rate where I'm having 400 or 500 permits per year. We have about 100 building permits, 100 electrical permits. It's an inspection every 3 or 4 days. It's not, I'm going to have multiple inspections every day. Obviously, there's times they're going to have 2 or 3 in one day just because that's the way it works. As far as a lawyer, we can send out the lawyer, but this is the statement from the state electrical inspector stating that this is on file with the state. The only way to remove it is by doing this process. So at some point we had this passed before, but I cannot find a documentation of when it was passed. So.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Mhm.
With ordinances in the past like this, typically with ordinances requests like this here in the past, is it typical for the town attorney to remove the council vote?
My understanding that the town attorney saw this agenda at least 3 different times in the last week. And never made any reference to this being anything wrong with this. So.
Yeah. This is set up exactly to the specs of Title 38 ordinance on how to propose an ordinance.
And then to follow up with Mary's question, so do you have a process in place to monitor these?
Yes, so we as Excel, I have changed up to how we do Excel to have a more detailed information on our permits, makes it easier to track. We still use Excel for this because we do not currently pay for the cost of Trio code enforcement, which has the option of controlling it. There are other options we can do that are better than using Excel, but they're at a different additional cost. Excel is no additional cost. At this current time, it's the right decision to make for the town. Going forward, as we get things fixed and more organized, we could look at that, and I can propose that for the 2028 budget that would put it in there. I have talked to several other code officers, other areas in the state, and they use some different programs. Some of them are much more successful than others. But I can look at those and see what the costs are. But at this current time, tracking is just through Excel. It's on our general drive. It's available to anybody who comes in and requests it. And it has it broken down by each permit type. It's got their map lot, name, email. It's got all the information I can in order to maintain contact with the homeowner.
I promise this is my last follow-up question. Is that, not like getting all crazy on the data, but as far as the numbers and maybe how many you're trying, is that something you can incorporate to your monthly meeting that you give, to the town council?
Are you looking for more specific? Because I already put it into the monthly meetings, how many permits I complete. It's in my monthly report.
I don't think it needs to be any more specific other than it's electrical in nature versus just a building permit.
No, it's electrical is completely different and it is specified separately in the monthly report.
Okay.
Yeah. And there will be additional breakdowns as we incorporated the new fee structure, so it makes it into different permits. That will have more specifics onto how we're broken down our building permits and such. That will be for non-livable space versus livable space permits. That'll make it easier for us to track it as we continue to go through.
Thank you for doing your homework on this.
Yes, sir.
Gordon does.
The question, this is one of those times when we apparently turned over control of something to the state and it hasn't benefited us at all. It seems like it's caused us problems. I'm really glad to see that you're doing the job of getting it back.
Yeah, there's two aspects. Like I stated, it's for tracking in town. The second aspect, and it's secondary to my concern. My concern is safety for things I've seen, and I don't want people being into a house or a structure that's being energized or being put power to that hasn't been inspected by a state inspector because they're out 3 weeks. The second is that we will actually receive the permit funds for that. So it's additional funding for the code enforcement department coming back in to general fund, but we're actually getting paid for the work we're doing. So when we go out and do a certificate of occupancy, I'm checking the electrical in the building to make sure it's done. And any building in town, doesn't matter if it was I have to validate the electric's done properly. So I'm already spending the time to do it. If I do it myself, I don't have to spend as much time going in and checking every single GFCI to make sure every GFCI is done. I've already done that once. So it's not going to change from the first time I did it. Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Double permit, if they start work before receiving a permit or not, well, they can do work if they contact us, if like say in training, they're starting it, they can call me and say, I'm gonna be tomorrow morning, I'm gonna do a permit. Can you swing by first thing you're available? I'll be still hardwiring it. We don't charge them. If they go through and do entire wiring of a house and don't come until a permit, until they're written ready to do a certificate of occupancy, that's a double permit. Yeah.
Could you both step up to the mic, please?
How will you do violations that have already occurred regarding this particular part of the ordinance?
So as far as you're
Things
speaking
that
about
have
already being completed, it's hard to apply secondary or violation permits on a structure that's been completed before you've been here, not knowing what has and has not been inspected. Either be a state or by a previous code officer. So what I'm working on as far as permits is trying to get permits on file, and I've had a lot of residents being, I've never pulled that permit. And they're doing the permits. But the process is, without having the information of what the past was, I'm just saying we need to finish this permit and get it on file, so I haven't been charging secondary prices or double prices for those without knowing what the previous circumstances were. So. But going forward is basically what I've told everybody. You come in and I'm here, I've been here 3 months and I know what you're working on. I know where to set the standard at. And where to make sure that if this is happening, I know who to charge it to. Because as you guys know, I'm up and down all of the streets. I see where properties are at. So if something's changing or my residents tell me something there, I drive out to that property and see what's going on and I'm able to put it on my radar. So sometimes you go way out to the very end of a road, like Transalpine, somebody let me know something going on Transalpine. It's the last property in town. I don't normally drive that far out that last little road. I stop right there around the corner where the little narrow's at, make a check and then turn around and come back. There's one other property that's got building on it. So I've been able to find that. And that's because the residents communicate with. Let me know. There is an option, yes. I don't know at this time. I've never used it. I've been told by multiple code officers, it's not a strong software.
If we have questions, please come up to the mic, because then the people at home can't hear.
Yeah.
And people here can't.
Else?
Anything
Yeah,
else?
look at us.
Just making sure.
Your answer.
Just making sure, David. I want to make sure that yeah.
Thank you.
Sir.
Does council have anything? I'll close the public hearing at 8:24. Item 11B, approval and adoption of ordinance. Just motion move to approve and adopt an ordinance assuming responsibility for electrical permitting and electrical inspections within the town of Lincoln. So. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 5-1, Councilor Henry. Item 12, approved lease. Suggested motion move to approve a 5-year lease between RNL and RS LLC and the town of Lincoln to house the police department at an annual rent of $53,280, $4,400 monthly. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Chief?
Questions? All right, so like 2 mics going. So this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to do a 5-year lease. I added a thing this morning too with him to specifically say early termination. So within 60 days, either of us can get out of the lease. So we had a 3-year lease before. I was fine with the 3-year lease. He wanted to have a 5-year lease. I don't think it really matters if we have a 60-day termination on it. So we don't have a better place to be. So I think that's the best option that we have right now. It's working as far as the building is in much better place since he fixed it. So that's good. I think there's still probably some moisture issues, but I can't see them like they were before. So I think this is our best option for now. And for us to move would be another incredible cost to that. If we're just looking to move for another temporary place, I think we need a long-term place, but we need to figure out what that is first, right? So, and then having the 60-day plan thing works out well, so.
Chief?
He, on both sides. And he put some drainage on that one side that is to the left of the building. On the right side of the building, we repaved that, right? So that the water wasn't going down in there. Now, I can tell you this spring, there wasn't any water. So he did open that complete wall up. He must have sealed it, and he must have done a much better job because the first year I was there, I was in standing water. So I was literally walking in it. And anytime it would rain across my back closet, across my door frame, and there's been none of that. So
My understanding. Grease?
yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
When we
Well-
had the situation last year going into winter with the mold issue, did the town pay for the temporary trailer or? did
Yeah,
the
we did.
landlord-
Yeah, we paid for some of that, right? And we paid for the trailer and that portion of it. He paid for other portions inside the building. He did everything inside the building as far as fixing it, so.
Thank you.
Want to make sure that as a council and as a chief of police, we know that's not the best place for you. That we don't get too comfortable with 5 years.
Right.
And then 5 years from now, we're still discussing with same thing with whatever council is in.
Right, yeah, no, I think that's the best option for right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Director, suggest a motion, move to appoint George Briggs as Transportation Director.
So moved.
Second.
Motion.
How many hours a month that this may entail? To my understanding, it could be like only 5 hours or 6 hours a month. And if that's the case, that could be upwards of $100 an hour.
It'll take. I just know that he's constantly had been doing that up until, well, actually still doing that when I meet with him, telling me things that's going on, what we need to look at. Things are upcoming, trying to figure out manpower if needed. If they're short, dealing with, currently you only have one person who's available to at the transfer station to, move the trailers out. And so he has to then take somebody, figure out the logistics of getting somebody from Public Works to go over there if for some reason it needs to be done, if the one who does have the Class A license is not there for whatever reason. Excuse me. So there are a lot of things that go in with that. But I don't have a good answer to your question as far as hours, because this is still newer to me. But I do see him putting a lot of effort into it, at this point. But I don't have an hour, I don't have it broken down by hours, no.
Nothing against Director Briggs. I just don't like the fact that, we're giving someone 2-3 jobs to do.
I won't disagree with that
You
at
know.
all.
I think we ought to set down with all the stakeholders, the transfer station, Mr. Briggs, and maybe yourself and a few of the counselors, and come up with something that may be more constructive,
Yes, sir.
because this is a lot of money in run of a year, $150. Is that what we are saying? Got it.
This arrangement with the Public Works Director, something that's intended to be short-term, long-term?
We're here, so I have not had an opportunity to pursue anything else as far as looking into hiring a third person at the transfer station who we would only be looking for somebody who had a license, who can move the trailer and the other parts that were mentioned last time. So I've not had an opportunity to move in that direction. So in my mind, this is just temporary.
That's my understanding too, and I just wanted to get out there publicly. We're not like hiring him for a yearly position. What are the ramifications?
Trying to find somebody, one, to move the trailers around. If the one who can do it isn't there, if he's sick or on vacation, trying to figure out manpower, if any one or both are sick, and trying to figure out how that's gonna work. So those are the ramifications as far as what a normal manager would do on that, yes.
This really has kind of some to do with what we're going to move on here in the future between contracts as well, correct?
If I understand what you're saying correctly, yes, but I hate to unequivocally say that without fully knowing your thoughts.
Well, I think we need to decide here at some point, are we going to stick with the old trash contract or the new? So once we get that figured out, I think
Right, that's the other thing.
it's going to fix this.
Yep.
So I guess what I'm trying to get at to the public is this is not a motion that's intended to create another full-time annual job for the Public Works Director.
Correct.
This is just something maybe for a month or two till we get these loose ends tied up.
Correct.
Temporary status rather than a permanent status.
I'd like to amend it to say acting, since interim would indicate that he's going to be taking over the job permanently. To amend it to say acting station transfer station director. Get a second on that?
Second.
Okay, amendment's been made and seconded. This is just a vote on the amendment. All those in favor? 6-0. So now we have a motion to appoint George Burns as acting transfer station director. And we have a motion second on that already. All those in favor? Opposed? 5-1. Number 14, temporary assessor, suggestion move to appoint Ruth Burns as temporary assessor until a permanent solution is found.
So moved.
Second. Motion been made second. Discussion. Ruth, do you want to have anything to say about this? Would you do that, please?
Last week, the Department of Revenue came into the town of Lincoln to audit the assessing records. There were 2 auditors. At that time, when I was hired, don't laugh when I say this, back in 1991, I was not a certified Maine assessor and Lincoln was a primary assessing district. I was given 6 months by the Department of Revenue to get my certified Maine assessor's license, which I did. As we were informed at the audit with the revenue services by the 2 auditors, that being a primary assessing area, you have to have and appointed certified Maine assessor as your primary assessor. If you do not, everything that has been done is null and void, being the supplementals, being the abatements, being the 30-day notices, the notices sent out by the tax collector. You have to have a person appointed as the certified Maine assessor. The issue being, you do not have an approved budget. The assessing department for the last 2 years has not been funded. There is no money to fund an assessor. We had an advertisement out for over 2.5 months. No one who was certified applied. So with that statement, until the budget is passed and until we can find a solution in order to make everything valid and acceptable by revenue services, including all of the supplementals that were going out with the Sanderson project, we have to have somebody appointed. Unfortunately for me, the only person right now in the town of Lincoln that has the certified Maine assessor's license is me. So I said I would be willing to be appointed until the budget is passed and the assessing department is funded and we can find a solution.
Motion. I know she never accepted the position, is that correct? Yeah. Okay.
Is this is a very temporary situation. I am glad that Rita stepped up and made herself available to do this. I personally think that she should be paid a stipend for this. And we do have a solution, which the budget is passed, which will be in the near future, to have the assessing firm to be doing the assessing work. But until that time, she should be compensated for the extra work. This is not a situation like some in the public mentioned tonight, that this is putting on another full-time job on Ruth. And I'll just leave it at that again.
Can I make amendments to it? To do two things. One is to remove the word temporary because she shouldn't be a temporary successor. We can still leave it as until a permanent solution is found. And also to provide a stipend of. That's a personnel. Oh, personnel, we can't do stipend, right? But to do it, remove the word.
We can remove the word temporary. We have a second for that?
But isn't.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second? We have a motion on the amendment to the word, to remove the word temporary. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of that amendment? Opposed? 4-2. On the amendment. Now we can vote on the amendment, the motion itself, and we could appoint Ruth Burtz as assessor until a permanent solution is found. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 5-1, Councilor Harrington. Item 15, discussion Wakefield General Services trash pickup disposal in Lincoln. Who's running this discussion? Well, do we have an introduction or something? I mean,
That would involve a little thought on my part. I apologize.
Hi there, Michael Wakefield. This is my wife, Nicole Wakefield. We own Wakefield General Services, our small family-owned business. We simply offer a service of taking household trash from people's houses to the dump. We offer our service in 4 towns, Burlington, Lowell, Enfield, and Howland. And we would like to expand our services to Lincoln to offer certain places in Lincoln that service as well. So we've been in contact with the town office to try to acquire a dump sticker or some sort of dump pass to be able to access the dump in Lincoln. And haven't been able to do that yet. So we were asked to speak with town council about it to see if we could get that approved.
Let's do this for a second. The reason I asked them to come do this is there's nothing I can find that says what I'm supposed to. Well, the procedure is supposed to follow something like this because it says residents can only get dump stickers. So I didn't know how to make this happen for them. So I thought the best course of action was bringing it before the council. Since there's nothing that I found written down as to how that works for an outside company coming in to pick up residents' garbage or Lincoln residents to take it to the transfer station.
You, Tyler. I see, that looks like the CEO and the CFO sitting over in the chairs.
Yes, over there, Daisy and Autumn.
So I guess what I think Wade just kind of answered a little bit of my question, but yeah. What do you need from the town? Now that you've just said that, like, how does Ireland Rubbish handle doing the same thing that they're proposed to do?
They're a Lincoln business, so I'm assuming that's how they do it, is because they do business in town. They're located here.
No, but do they have to have a commercial sticker to bring Lincoln residents trash?
I did not ask Danny that question, sorry. Is that his name? Your own?
Yeah.
Yes, I did not ask him that question. So I just assumed because he's a local business that that's how he was able to do that.
So it's kind of like on the honor system?
Yes, what I did, I guess I should stay up here. I'm sorry. What, and I was talking with Nicole about verifying a way of making sure that it, because the concern is that I've heard since I've been here from other people dealing with contractors in different places, bringing stuff up to the transfer station is how do we know it's Lincoln residents? And so in talking with them, they said they would provide a regularly updated list of who it is that they're bringing garbage from. So if it's like, if they don't get anybody, then they won't be bringing anything. If it's 10 people, then they'll let us know and they will regularly update that list with me. I just need to know if they have permission to do that. And if so, then I gotta figure out in the town office how to give them a sticker that they need to do that with, or if there's. Anyways, I would figure that part out.
I would check with Ireland's Rubbish and kind of follow whatever the protocol is with there as far as a sticker. I mean, that would be my,
Just
be my.
So we've been with them and we just try to make sure we follow whatever the town's rules are. But we're just really honestly just looking for a dump sticker if that is allowed.
history here. There's been several times Lincoln has tried to have a commercial dumping sticker or privileges at a cost. And it's always been shot down in the past. Of course, Ireland's were against it 100%. But that has been brought up several times. So if we're not going to do it for one, we can't do it for anyone. That's my opinion.
So, Mr. Chairman, we ought to charge a commercial rate. Because I know firsthand that there's town contractors bringing other town trash into our transfer station. So I think we ought to look long and hard if we're gonna allow this, and I'd be all for it. But we need to really police. I know one contractor worked in 5 different towns. He ended up in Lincoln, and he came to Lincoln and dumped the trash. That's not fair to the ratepayers or the taxpayers in Lincoln. So I'm not saying that that happens a lot, but it does open up the area for that to happen.
For these people, do they have to like sit in limbo for the next 6 months to a year for the town of Lincoln to figure out how we're going to do this?
Won't come to our, but I think we ought to allow them to do it. Like you said, it's another service to the town. But we as a town, as a council, as a transfer station and the director, we ought to come up with some type of solution to say, if you're gonna be a player and a taxpayer in Lincoln, you're not gonna be bringing other towns' trash to Lincoln. And I think if we start now and let these fine folk be the example of what we need to do, then we need to get the word out to the other contractors that you gotta play right. Point is to how we are making sure that people who take stuff to the transfer station are only bringing stuff from the town of Lincoln if it's being collected somewhere. We don't have a policy ordinance or fines for being found to be in violation of bringing stuff from outside of the town?
I sure hope you do. I have not.
You understand, I've met these people before. They came up, they actually had letters from the residents of Lincoln saying that they were transporting their trash. So it's not like a big contractor like Ireland's that's charging out. They're coming in and doing it, and it's all Lincoln's trash. They followed our rules. They have one of our books. All they're looking for is to get a trash pass on their vehicle. So when they come up, we can say, okay, you did your trash pass, you did your due diligence, and they'll have a list of where they picked it up and who it is. So we know they're Lincoln residents. To turn around and do as a contractor, they're not picking a pack a load of trash up. It's just a small trailer. And again, it's just a sticker and they do a great job. In my opinion, I think they should get it, but that's my opinion only.
Charging tipping fees, you're providing a service to the dump, and maybe if you guys are cheaper than my uncle, I'd hire you guys too, but you know, I think that's the big difference, and I don't know if we can just, I'd like for them to see that they can start doing business tomorrow. I don't know why we need to come up with whatever structure that could take 6 months or 3 months. I don't know. And maybe George would have some input besides Tim. Just give them a regular sticker that's tied to them so that they know. I like solutions, so I'd like to figure out how we could make this work so they could start.
With all due respect, we have been attempting to get this done for probably 3 or 4 months at this time with the town office. Simply for a dump sticker, We, like I said, we do offer this service in 4 other towns. It is just strictly a service of transporting somebody's trash to the dump. Not adding any more trash to the dump than normally would show up there anyway. It's already the town's trash. And this is not anything that, taxpayers would have to pay for. This is not, any contract, and it's simply between me and the homeowner.
This is a service you're providing to
service.
Lincoln residents.
Absolutely.
How come somebody, how come this has not been like an ordinance or or something being proposed to us?
Can't speak here while I was here. I couldn't get it on in time for June's meeting.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's on this one. I knew in my mind, I had to wait for a council meeting in order to have this, because it's going against, as I understand it, because they're not residents. And the simple thing is just needing a dump sticker. I just need to know it's okay to give them one, but I don't know where else to look other than to bring it before you guys. If that's something you're like, hey man, that's something you're supposed to do, fine. All this is over. They got it tomorrow. I'm good to go. But again, at the same time, because there's so much going on, I just want to make sure I'm doing it the right way.
I do think that we need something special. These people are not just bringing in one household's trash. That's what a dump sticker generally is for. So I think we need a special dump sticker or some kind of thing for this. But I think that, they've been waiting 3 or 4 months. We need to find a way to move quickly on it, but we need to have something that we can bring before the council. And I would suggest that we have something before the council before the next council meeting. And I hate to have you wait a month, but that's what I would suggest.
You using to deliver trash to the transfer station?
We have one vehicle, one family vehicle. It's our pickup, and that's what we use for everything.
Mr. Chair, is it appropriate for me to make a motion on this while discussion? May make a motion to suspend the rules? Yes, you may. I make a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion been made and seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor? 6-0.
Make a motion to, and I'm sorry, I forget the name of your company, Wakefield, to begin offering this service tomorrow. Use the regular, assign them just a regular transfer station sticker on their vehicle. And if this is something, I don't mind working with you later on, Councilor Street, to come up with an ordinance for future use. But let's get these folks so they can take care of their customers.
Yeah, I agree with, we need to move forward, but we also need to come up with an ordinance that will cover anybody else who wants to do the same thing. To make sure that they really are, what kinds of penalties there are for bringing from other than those other places. So yes, I don't mind working with you on that. That'd be great.
I don't mean to interrupt. Maybe I shouldn't have stuck around. So John Pottle, so I'm legal counsel for the town. This is the first I've heard that strikes me, and I'm taking the pen of the council, that if it was very clear, I'm going to call it a certificate of authorization for them to operate the service that they're describing, kind of on a temporary basis, with the understanding that there's tracking kind of manifest of the origins of the waste, because I think that goes to council members Hannison's concern of making sure Lincoln waste is going to the transfer station, not outside of town waste going in. And I do think it would be prudent, whether it's a rules of regulation or a solid waste ordinance, to have some sort of licensing or similar process, but I don't think it needs to hold up their ability to conduct the services. Again, I'm going to call it a certificate of authorization with an understanding of the manifest record
record keeping, excuse me, to make sure the origins of the waste is within the town of Lincoln. I think that would solve the temporary issue. Solid waste ordinances and the licensing regime that you're talking about are fairly common. So I think if the council desired it, you could probably get that put in place pretty quickly.
Agree with legal counsel. I just don't know how Ireland's Rubbish would react to that, what their thoughts would be. So it's almost kind of developing into maybe we'd have to do a public hearing.
What?
As far as creating a certificate of,
It's, if they want to come and complain, they can. That's not our worry.
Requirement in Lincoln to do what they're proposing to do. So when I say a certificate, it's really just something for them to have a piece of paper. So if there's any question of whether they can bring waste to the transfer station, they have a piece of paper, the same thing as a dump sticker. The only difference is they're not a resident. So is it a real legal requirement to impose? Probably not. You probably keep doing it. But I think it's just an appropriate measure to make sure that there's a way to track, again, to manifest the origin of the waste. That's all.
and I, Mr. Chair, I think if, just in the meantime, it's not like they've got a fleet of 12 trucks or 12 vehicles. I mean, for whatever the town manager may see fit for internal record keeping would be fine, but to get these folks up and going, I think just a typical transfer station sticker, and we've got 3 employees that work there, so.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. We have any further discussion?
Your minds look up.
To award them a sticker.
Because that
Nope.
No.
No, my motion is just to use a transfer sticker.
I would like and say, and provide them with a certificate from the town manager of authorization to use it since they're from out of town. That basically covers 2 ways of demonstrating that they have authorization.
We got a motion on an amendment and a motion. Do we have a second to that? On a certificate of
Authorization.
This is just a vote on the amendment. Favor? Opposed? 5-1. Now we have with the change of language, with the change of language. Do we have any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? 6-0. Item 16, executive session, move to retire into executive session. 1 MRSA section 4056A for the purpose of discussing the town manager's position. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? 6-0. We'll enter into executive session at 9:01.